Take a look at your phone. Does it only light up when someone needs a loan, a ride, or a shoulder to cry on? Have you ever canceled your own doctor's appointment, ignored your own exhaustion, or pushed aside a rare moment of peace just to fix a crisis for someone who wouldn't even check on you if you disappeared tomorrow? Be honest with yourself. You've spent decades being the safety net for everyone else. You've been the person who says it's no trouble while your own heart is screaming for a break. But lately, when you look in the mirror, you don't see a saint. You see a person who is being used. A person who has become a convenience rather than a human to the ones they love most. You're tired, aren't you? Not the kind of tired that a good night's sleep can fix, but the kind of soul-deep exhaustion that comes from realizing you've built a life where everyone else is cared for, except for the person looking back at you in the mirror. Tonight, here on the porch, the niceness ends. It's time we talk about why your kindness has become your cage and how to finally walk out of it. Let me tell you a story about a man named Silas. Silas lived in a village tucked away in the blue shadows of the great mountains. He was the village blacksmith, a master of iron and fire. His hands were calloused, but his heart was famously soft. If a neighbor's gate creaked, Silas was there to oil it. If a traveler lost a horseshoe at midnight, Silas would reignite his forge without a second thought. He was known as the heart of the valley. And for a long time, Silas wore that title like a crown. But look closer at Silas's own workshop. While he was out fixing everyone else's plows, his own roof began to sag. The rain would leak in, dampening his coal, while he was giving away his best seasoned oak to keep his neighbors' houses warm during the autumn chills. His own hearth was slowly turning to gray ash. One winter, a great frost descended, the kind that freezes the breath in your lungs. The villagers, panicked, swarmed Silas's forge. They needed heaters, they needed shovels, they needed miracles. Silas, exhausted and shivering, worked until his fingers bled. He gave away his last ember. He gave away his last bit of warmth. When the sun finally set on the coldest night, Silas sat alone in his dark, freezing shop. He picked up his hammer to mend his own broken stove. But he realized something terrifying: his hands were too numb to hold it. His fire was out, and he had no coal left to relight it. He walked through the knee-deep snow to the village square, seeking just a single spark from the people he had served for 40 years. But the doors were barred. The windows were shuttered. The villagers were inside, enjoying the warmth of the tools Silas had made for them. They didn't hear his knock. They didn't see his shadow. They simply assumed Silas, the strong one, would always be fine. That night, Silas didn't die, but the old Silas did. The next morning, the villagers found a small wooden sign hanging on the forge door. It didn't say closed. It said, "The fire is tending to itself today." For 7 days, Silas didn't answer a single knock. He ignored the grumbles of the men who needed their axes sharpened. He ignored the whispers that he had become cold and selfish. Instead, he spent those 7 days gathering his own wood. He patched his own roof. He sat by his own fire and listened for the first time in decades to the sound of his own breathing. When he finally reopened the heavy oak doors, something had changed. His eyes were clear. His back was straight. And the tools he forged, they were stronger than ever before. He had learned the hardest lesson of the forge. A blacksmith who gives away all his heat eventually leaves the whole village in the dark. Now, I can already hear the quiet protest in your heart. You might be saying, but if I start saying no, won't I be selfish? Won't I be turning my back on those who need me? Let's sit with that word for a moment, selfish. For 50 years, that word has been used as a leash to keep you in place. We've been conditioned to believe that goodness is the total absence of self. But here is the cold, hard truth of the porch. A dry well offers no water to the thirsty traveler. If you give until you are hollow, you aren't being a saint. You are becoming a burden. Because eventually, someone will have to carry you. Is it selfish for the lighthouse to keep its light? If the lighthouse gave its glass to the windowless houses and its oil to the cold lamps of the village, it would no longer be a lighthouse. It would be a pile of dark stones, and the ships would crash upon the shore. The Stoic master Epictetus once said, "If you want to be beautiful, make the beautiful choice." And sometimes, the most beautiful choice is to preserve the very person who is doing the giving. Taking care of your own fire isn't an act of greed. It's an act of stewardship. You are the caretaker of the soul God gave you. When you say no to a demand that drains your spirit, you aren't being selfish. You are being self-sustaining. You are ensuring that when a true crisis comes, you actually have the strength to stand up and help, rather than collapsing in the mud alongside everyone else. Reclaim your no. Not out of anger, but out of a deep, quiet respect for the life that remains in your hands. The sun is almost below the trees now, and the air is turning cool. As you go back inside tonight, I want you to remember Silas. I want you to remember that small wooden sign, "The fire is tending to itself today." It is okay to let the phone ring. It is okay to be unavailable for a season. The world did not fall apart when Silas closed his doors. It simply learned how to light its own candles. And you might find, to your surprise, that when you stop being a crutch for everyone else, they finally discover they have legs of their own. You've spent a lifetime being the hero in everyone else's story. For once, just once be the beloved guest in your own life. Tend to your fire. Guard your peace. Because you, my friend, are worth the effort. Thank you for sitting with me on the silver porch. If this conversation brought a little warmth to your heart, subscribe and stay a while. We have many more sunsets to watch together. Until next time, keep your hearth warm and your boundaries strong.